All right, what's going on, everybody? We are back for episode 3 of our foundational 4. Um, and today we're going to talk about fitness. I'm here with my co-host.
What's up, guys? My name is Zach Taylor. I'm a fitness and nutrition coach, and I am just ready to get into it. Let's talk about all things fitness, man.
Yeah. Well, we'll start with your perspective on it. What do you view as like the most important thing about fitness, or what do you think is, the most biggest thing that really fitness will improve in your life?
Honestly, I think what it really comes down to for me is the feeling of being capable. I mean, I know that there are obvious benefits to exercise, and there's, strength to be gained and cardiovascular health to be improved. But honestly, for me, the biggest part is just feeling capable in my own body, feeling like at any moment, if I needed to, and maybe this is more of a man thing, I don't know,
Hmm.
I could just like pick up, I could run, I could sprint, I could get out of danger, or I could face danger head on. I could make one trip from the car with all the groceries on my arms,
Yeah.
like whatever it may be, just like feeling
Yeah.
like I can do it.
I think that's good. Yeah. I definitely agree with that. I mean, that kind of actually ties into my point a little bit nicely enough, but it really kind of does like make you feel more capable no matter what. Like that's something I noticed when I started doing jujitsu. Even though I'm still very, very low on the totem pole, only have one stripe. The one thing it taught me was like that you can suck at something, but then you're gonna get better. And as you get better, you become more capable and you can then tackle these things easier, kind of like what you were saying. Um, I think that fitness is important just because like when you develop that consistent mindset and that consistent routine around being healthy, it just transfers into other mindsets in your life. And I
Mhm.
think that's why it's so important is because, anybody that's lifted for any amount of time knows that there are several really it's way more on the scale of the ladder of that, you know, sometimes you're hyped to go to the gym and it's exciting and you're feeling good, you're feeling limber, you're like, oh, I'm gonna kill this workout. But on the other flip side of it, like 80, 90% of the time, depends your schedule and who you are, it sucks. It sucks going to the gym, man. Like you get there, you're like, oh, I'm gonna probably just do the bare minimum. I'm just gonna get in here, get out. But then what happens all the time, you get in there, you start getting your body moving, you start getting all those good feelings rushing, and you're kind of your body tells you, yeah, this is what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, no kidding, man. I've been intentionally hitting the gym since I was about 14 years old when I started with my workout class for baseball in high school. And so, I mean, we're looking at like 16 years I've been
Hmm.
in the gym working out. And no kidding, the majority of the time, I don't feel like doing it.
Hmm.
And so at the end of the day, I think there's so much to be gained in the realm of discipline and just doing it. And the craziest thing, I always feel like the days that I want to do it the least are the days that I have the best workouts.
Hmm. That's the day you needed it the most, it feels like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's crazy what it can do for you. Other than the obvious, it can help with your vanity. It can help with your confidence level with around other people, but it goes so much deeper than that. It can help lower your all cause mortality by like a quarter roughly, and that's like just accounting for what the strength training will bring to the table. That's not calculating for also trying to have a health conscious diet and getting good sleep and having good, stress management and all these things that we're talking about in this series. It's a big deal. And on those days where you don't feel like doing it, you're putting back into that bucket or that cup or whatever you want to say to be able to give back out to others or to pursue what you want to do. Without doing that, you're not adding to that bucket.
Yeah, I'd say for anybody that's looking to be successful in life, away from the gym or away from fitness, make exercise a consistent part of your life. That discipline bleeds over into the other things. It brings you extra confidence to be able to go out and conquer the things that you need to conquer. It's such a vital part for life. And like you said, the health benefits, I mean, you can't beat it really. Like,
Hmm.
coupled with proper nutrition and proper rest, I mean, you're looking at living just a very healthy and happy life.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and speaking of happy life, I mean, I know there's been several studies where it's the same result. You'll get like a 40-50% reduction in anxiety just by adding in uh
Mhm.
some strength training, or just simply, I've even seen studies that went as simple as just like walks
Mhm.
outside and like mobility sessions like yoga or whatever. Um, it just it's something that I know a lot of therapists and counselors are recommending to start off with when people come to them with general anxiety or general paranoia and stuff like that. The first thing they ask is, what supplements are you taking, and are you physically active?
Yep.
Because it's starting to become a lot more apparent that most of this is happening because of nutrient deficiencies and because of lack of physical activity.
Mhm.
So you're getting hit from multiple angles, and then you're wondering why you're feeling so crazy. Well, this is something that's proven to be able to help with that. I know, me amongst millions are plagued with that daily anxiety bug, and you got to be able to have these good plans to get them out. Otherwise, it's going to rear its ugly head in other portions of your life where you're struggling, and it's going to make you neglect important things for a while, or anything to that effect.
Yeah, I think it's becoming even more important nowadays to have something like that because, I mean, I don't know about you, but ever since the pandemic, my work transitioned to remote. And
Mm,
so when you're inside all day, that anxiety and that feeling of just like being cooped up, it builds. It really does. And it's like over time, it really starts to become this thing that wears on you. And
hmm.
having something to do where you challenge yourself and something that helps to decrease that level of anxiety is so important.
Yeah, that's a good point. I remember when the pandemic happened, uh, I I didn't have to work from home, but I worked at these two office buildings doing building maintenance where 80% of the people were gone, so like it was these big buildings that I had to walk around and change lights and fix toilets and all this stuff with like very little interaction. Quite frankly, the people that were there, I would bother them a lot because of that. Um, and I gained like probably 25-30 pounds, because also lack of people in the building, lack of problems. I was just sitting around the building most of the day, trying to just find stuff. But then what I started doing was, instead of doing that and then going home from being mentally tired, and then just sitting down and like watching TV or playing video games or whatever it is, I would have a gym bag with me, and I would go to the gym right after work, go work out for 45 minutes or an hour, and then come home. And I remember always feeling so much better. And because I did it 4 or 5 days a week, I didn't do anything crazy. I was in there for like that 45 minutes. That was like me going in there changing. That was me like walking on the treadmill for like 10 minutes, like my actual workout was only like 20 minutes, 25 minutes. But it was so pivotal. Like, if we're just talking about mood in general, it was so pivotal for that and really making a big difference.
Yeah. And to what you said about like going straight to the gym, if a person can do that right after work, please do. Because probably the worst thing that you can do is go and sit down after work. I can't tell you how many times I've gone and sat on the couch fully intending to work out and then
Hmm.
it's uncomfortable and didn't work out. Just didn't
Yep.
work out. So like my rule to myself is once I'm done with work, which I'm sitting in a chair all day anyway, why do I need to sit down after work? Stand up and keep standing until your workout is done. And then guess what? after my workout's done, I'm going and I'm getting a shake. Then maybe I'm cooking. I'm actually on my feet for even longer. And so
Hmm.
all the time I spend sitting at my desk all day, I do feel like I kind of reverse those effects a little bit just by standing for much more of the day after that.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. I'm standing most of the day at work. I mean, honestly, my whole shift I'm standing, but
Mm.
whenever I'm at the cash register, I can, tend to lean on the cash register or kind of hunch over on the cash register. And I've actually started doing that more where I'm like, all right, well, when you go home, you do a decent amount of sitting. I mean, like 3 or 4 hours, nothing too crazy, but that's primarily what I do when I come home on my days that I work. I just kind of come home and, I cook food or clean the kitchen real quick. And then once that's all done, then I kind of just sit down and relax for the evening.
Right.
Um, but, you know, I've tried to be like when I'm at the check stand, trying to be more like standing upright and like engaging my core and not slouching over and like just those little mindful things of stuff that when you're like already doing the task anyways, like
Mm.
those are the little needle movers that are gonna help you be more conscious about these things too.
Yeah. Um, I really wanted to talk about different types of exercise. I
Hmm.
know that me and you actually we work out differently, which will be good for to share just two different perspectives on the matter. But if you want, do you want to start? Kind of
Sure.
tell people what you do and what that looks like.
So most of the time, this is really more because of time allotment. I wouldn't mind going 3 days a week, but I really only get time for 2 days a week, two full body workouts. So I go through a really well written up mind pump program, anabolic, and I usually just do that 2 days a week. So it's kind of, two or three of the big movers, like squat, deadlift, bench press, shoulder press, those kind of guys. And then it has more, smaller muscle group stuff, like your bis and tris, your rows, and your calves, and your ab workout. But I usually just do that, and then also the other reason why I don't really try so hard for the third day is because at work I'm on my feet all day. If
Mhm.
we're throwing freight, granted, it's only like 10, 15 pounds maybe per box, but I'm still doing a lot of little deadlifts and stuff. So I've noticed in the past that because of the work that I do, I will get fatigued faster and I tend to get more injury prone, the older I get. I know I'm only 28, but still I can already tell that the older I'm getting, the recovery is getting a little bit less. And it's you have to actually take the stuff into account now. So but I personally I usually don't recommend more than like 3 days a week of the full body. And then on the off days, I encourage like stretching or yoga.
Mhm. Yeah. So I used to strength train and I actually ultimately got injured because I wasn't doing what you recommend. I wasn't stretching. And you
Mm,
know what the craziest thing was is like I was a personal trainer at the time too.
yeah.
And I ended up having like an impingement in my hip. Still bothers me to this day. I know you have dealt with some hip stuff too.
Yeah.
So for anybody looking to get into strength, looking to put extra weight on top of you, just make sure that you consult somebody and you have proper form because that's going to go so far and then stretch. Always stretch.
Oh yeah.
But for me now, I do calisthenics. And really, it started as a necessity when I got hurt because I didn't want to stop working out. It was too important to me. But I wasn't really able to do heavy weight anymore. So I thought, well, this looks fun. Why don't I just try this out? And I got myself some gymnast rings. And so now I go through a full body workout 3 days a week. Um, I'm doing pull ups, dips, pistol squats. I'll do some like pike push ups. I'm trying to get to a handstand push up, but man, those are tough. Uh,
Hmm.
and I find that it's so good for me specifically working a desk job during the day because it demands mobility out of you.
Hmm.
So I'm going to battle with all the stiffness that's kind of happening during my work day. And I chose a modality that really has mobility as part of its purpose.
Yeah, I like that. I actually have been considering switching to more of a calisthenic style myself, just because, well, one, the lack of weight, or at least you can use lighter weight and it'd be pretty easy to challenge yourself. I like the real world application of it, like it's not very often that you're going to grab something that's evenly weighted on a bar and deadlift it up. Whereas a deadlift, obviously, it's a very, very good lift to practice, and it's good for, overall strength. You can get, just by changing the time under tension and the reps and all that kind of stuff, you can get, a lot of really great results off of calisthenics. The weight room is amazing. I think it makes getting progress pretty easy because you don't have to be creative. You can just walk in there and do the things that are provided for you.
Mhm.
But I don't ever tell anybody that they have to get a gym membership to train with me. It's not necessary. You don't have to do it. You can, go for your walks every day. I know a lot of people do like a push up, crunch, lunge kind of routine, a lot of time, do, and the other thing too with that is I know a lot of people will think, like, oh, I'm gonna do 50 or I'm gonna do 100. Like, just start with 10. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Just start with 10, get them every day, and then slowly let it build up, because yeah, I mean, that's something kind of like what you said earlier. That's something I'm dealing with right now because I was trying to deadlift. So let me back up here. So I've been able to deadlift, I think, almost 400 pounds at one point when I was like, 18, 19, when I was lifting for like 7 years, consistently doing that stuff.
Mhm.
But I had like wrist straps on, I had a belt, you know, and all that stuff. And I obviously was younger and I was in shape and all that stuff. So how I hurt myself was I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna start at the bottom, like 150, 200 pounds, something that I can do without a belt already that I know. And I'm gonna try
Mhm.
to work myself up to like 300 plus with no belt, no straps. And I decided to just go from like 225 to 275. Then 275 felt pretty good. So I was like, all right, let's try 315. 315 felt okay. And I was like, all right. And I should have stopped there. I was like, I should have been pretty happy with 315. And I was like, let's try a 10 on each side real quick. And I do that, and I come up and and like rotated my tailbone, pinched a bunch of muscles. I sit on a heating pad now whenever I'm at my desk. So definitely heed the warning that you gave of, do something that's, good for your function. It's way better in this journey to drop the ego.
Yeah. And I want to back up to something you said before about the lower rep ranges or, you know,
Hmm.
totality of what you're doing. And it kind of bleeds into the next thing that we're going to talk about is like, what's right for you, the person watching this? What should you be doing? And what I like to tell people who are in the beginning stages and don't really have much experience working out, set a goal so small that it seems stupid not to do it.
Hmm.
Like, you can't just wake up one day and say, like, all right, well, I'm running 5 miles today. How about you just run to your mailbox and back? See how that feels.
Hmm.
Oh, is that fine? Okay, go do it again then. And then is that all right? All right, then run down the street real quick and come back. Like, it needs to be something where you think to yourself, I would really feel almost like ashamed if I didn't just go ahead and do this because it's right there
Hmm.
for me. It's almost nothing. I could do it in my jeans and t-shirt. I don't have to go change. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Oh,
ultimately,
totally.
we want to get to the place where we are being very intentional and setting apart time to do it. But I think that in those beginning stages, it needs to be something. What's right for you is what you're going to do, essentially.
Hmm. Yeah, so this is always such a tough one, and all the health and fitness podcasts I listen to that they have callers call in. It's so common for people, like, you know, so many people overtrain, and they
Mhm.
think that they got to hit it 4, 5, 6, 7 days a week and like be dripping sweat and be super sore the next day. And where those workouts have their place, they shouldn't be an everyday thing, if you're someone that's busy, and you're on your feet and working 5, 6 days a week, you really shouldn't be doing more than like a 15-minute workout, 3 days a week, and that's mostly just to keep the main big movers in check, because I know a lot of people who are just chronically fatigued because they work a construction job, then they also go to the gym and bust their ass for an hour, and it's like mentally that's great. It's great that you have that much discipline that you can get it done, but you got to be able to listen to your body. That's one of the big things I always think is a big factor when you're choosing what workout you want to do. Um, your excitement or your ego might make you want to do one thing, but you need to be realistic with yourself on kind of what you just said, on what you can actually achieve right
Mhm.
now. I think that's a big factor with that.
Yeah, I'm actually a perfect example today for what you were just talking about with recovery. So I think that after the holidays and everything, I was just feeling like a little worn down, like low energy, just a little extra fatigued, had a lot going on. And I had set up for my clients this week, it was going to be a 5-day ruck challenge. Since rucking has kind of become a more popular thing right now, where you're just adding a little bit of extra weight on your back and you're going and you're walking or just very lightly jogging. And so I'm still trying to keep up with my workouts, but I was also like, well, if my clients are doing it, I'm doing it too. And I'm not gonna like I'm not gonna do it lightly either. There's like an ego thing to it. So like I had about 35 pounds in the backpack. I went and I
Oof.
ran a mile and I did my workout on Monday. Yesterday I did the same amount for 2 miles. And then today um, I had to just like message because I was doing these ruck stats in the community chat saying like it was this amount of time, this amount of weight, and this distance. And today I said 0, 0, 0. I didn't feel well today. Like I felt under recovered.
Yeah.
I felt fatigued. And I knew if I tried to do it all again today, I was just going to feel even worse tomorrow. And that
Mhm.
that that downslide of feeling under recovered was going to get worse and just continue. So I just said to say, okay, today, no, got to take today off. Got to, like you said,
Mhm.
listen to your body.
It's a tough one, man, because even when you try to listen to your body, your body may be wanting to be lazy, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I know that that's a problem I run into sometimes where, you haven't done a type of workout, or maybe you haven't worked out in a couple of weeks because, life just got crazy and it just didn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
You get back in the gym and everything's kind of sluggish, or, you're tight, when you try to stretch, you're like, feel like you lost a lot of your range of motion. You got and that's why I always stick with the mentality of you got to listen to your body, because you could be right in the middle of a program and your body's going to tell you, well, you're not doing that today. And if you are, you're just going to make it worse and worse and worse until eventually it makes you just lay in bed if you push it that far. So,
Yeah. Well, do you want to give a recommended action step for people? Maybe some steps?
yeah, I would say if you're not already at 10K steps a day, I'd say try to get that. I think that's a few miles a day. I can't remember exactly how many miles it was.
Off
I
the
think
top of
it's,
my head, I want to say about three, three
I
and
was
a
gonna
half.
say somewhere between 3 and 5. Definitely no more than 5, but it's definitely 3 miles. I'm pretty for certain to get 10K.
Mm-hmm.
But um, I'd say that, and I like I like 15 body weight squats and 20 push-ups, and just breaking that up into like 7 and 7 on the squats and 10 and 10 on the push-ups. I think that's a good like confidence booster. And if you're at that level where that's challenging for you, then that's a really good simple start. It's really hard to hurt yourself doing those three things. So what about
Yeah,
you?
I was gonna say, just as like a general starting point, absolute beginner, 7,000 steps every day.
Mhm.
Like no days off. Because that, I mean, that may sound like a lot to somebody who's never done it, but walking is such a low impact, low energy demand activity that
Mhm.
your recovery overnight, if you're eating well and you're sleeping well, you're going to be fine the next day to do that again. So, um, but I'd be willing to bump it up to 10K with you on
Yeah.
that one. I think that it's totally attainable. It's just a matter of like taking the time to do it.
Yeah. I mean, seven is good for sure if you're someone who gets like virtually no steps. Like I had a client who she averaged like 1,800 to 2,000 steps a day. And I
Yep.
was like, what? How do you do that? Just because to me, I mean, I don't do it anymore, but a couple of years ago, I used to work overnight throwing freight and I would get like 20,000, 27,000 steps in a
Mhm.
day in a 24-hour period, which not good. Definitely would not recommend that. I was always tired. My legs and my feet always hurt. But so to
Yeah.
me, hearing that someone can get less than 2,000, I think it kind of just like puts into perspective. Like you kind of forget how sedentary we can be. So 10K, I think I'm glad you said that. I think 10K to someone might sound a little intimidating. Even like you said, even 7,000 might sound intimidating to someone who hasn't tried it, but it's very manageable if you just try to put, don't try to do it all at once is the big thing. Try to break it up into little pieces.
Yeah. And so going with our theme from the past couple of weeks, if somebody is sleeping 7 or more hours a night, if they're drinking half their body weight in ounces of water, and if they are walking 10,000 steps per day, I'd say that they're set up for success, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah. That's it's about as solid as a foundation as you can start on. If you're a beginner and you're doing those three things, I mean, anything else that you add is going to hopefully add more enjoyment rather than strain to you because you're already going to have something
Mhm.
solid to build off of.
Yeah. The only thing that I could think to add, and we're talking about somebody who's maybe feeling confident and ready to put a little bit more effort into it, is on top of the water for your nutrition, try to get more protein in. I'm not even gonna
Yep.
sit here and say like get this many grams of protein. Like probably you just need more. So just try to eat a little bit more. I wouldn't even worry about numbers at first.
Yep.
And then for exercise, I'd say like what you said, like get some squats and push-ups in. Just air squats and push-ups.
Yeah. Got to keep it simple, man. If you're starting out, you can't overload yourself.
Yeah, and don't make it complicated. Like that I find is a big hindrance to people trying to get started is that there's so much going on and it's so loud in the fitness space and everybody wants to have it's like it's the Hollywood workout thing. Like I don't know if you've ever seen like the superhero movie actors like going through their workouts.
Hmm.
um, they do some ridiculous stuff, like stuff that
Hmm.
we don't need to do because all they're really trying to do is like have an aesthetic physique. I mean,
Yep.
and obviously get big. But these trainers, they got them doing so much like acrobatics and things like that. And it's just like these actors don't really need to do that.
Right.
So just like keep it simple. And if you want to add skills later, add skills later. But for now,
Yep.
just build a foundation.
I agree. That's what it's all about.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, I don't really have much more information to share on the fitness side. I think we gave him plenty to digest.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't have anything else either.
All right. Well, we'll be back again next week with our final episode on the foundational four, and we'll be talking about stress management. So stay tuned
Mm,
with that because I know everybody's got stress. Everybody does. So,
yeah, we do.
all right. See you later.
Deal.